Monday, May 1st, and this is Geeknights. Tonight we're going to talk about internet hosting solutions.
Let's do this.
We had a wonderful weekend after our Wii show.
Whee!
Though I will note that as it's now allergy season, I have a screaming headache and my nose is full of various unmentionables. So I might sound a little off today.
I'm just awesome because I don't have allergies.
Yeah.
I'm pretty much immune to everything except maybe
girlfriends.
No, not immune to girlfriends. I've had some.
Anyway.
Oh, so yesterday I upgraded the hosting that we have, not for the MP3 files of Geeknights, but for everything else, the forum and the website and the feeds. Well, I guess the feeds are on FeedBurner, but the WordPress, where the FeedBurner feeds come from, and all that.
You might have noticed a slight short interruption in service.
Yeah, last night when no one was using it anyway. But basically, the everything is doubled. We have twice as much CPU, twice as much RAM, twice as much hard drive space, twice as much bandwidth.
So we're doing our best to fill that up right quick.
Yep. However, we also doubled the money we pay for it. So what was once $40 a month is now $80 a month.
So for anyone who's curious, because it was asked of us before and we didn't really give a solid number, it cost us a grand total of $1,200 a year to host Geeknights.
Yep, which is, considering it's two of us,
a pittance.
It's pretty much a pittance. However, when I thought about it, I was like, ugh, 80 times 12 is 960. It kind of made me go, but I'm paying it anyway because I don't care. However, in the past, someone came up to us and was like, hey, I wanted to PayPal you money, but there was no PayPal button. And I was like, yeah, well, we don't really need money because we have money from our jobs. But now, because I'm paying twice as much a month, I'm not asking anyone to PayPal us money.
Yeah, don't send us money.
In fact, I'm telling you, don't send us money because we probably have more money than you. But I have put a PayPal donate thing like in the darkest corner of the frontrowcrew.com page in the bottom right somewhere.
Yeah, we basically just wanted to mention it on the show so people don't see it and think, uh-oh, they're hurting for money.
Nope, we're not hurting for money.
We're not going to pull a Nick U here.
No, we're not going to pull a Nick U, which we'll talk about some other time.
We talked about it, I think.
Did we?
Actually, that was like
Long story short, some guy made a webcomic that was awesome. He said, help, I need money. We all gave him like $1. He made 2 more comics and then he ran away. Asshole.
We talked about that on like the 5th or 6th episode of Geeknights.
All right, anyway. So there's a PayPal donate there. It's not there because we need money. It's there because if you are so crazy that you just want to give us money, I'm not going to deny you. Previously, we were denying you. Now we are no longer denying you the ability to give us money. We're just trying to tell you not to.
It's like the custom in some places where you have to refuse a gift 3 times and then you take it grudgingly.
Well, it's not a show, though. We really don't want to take that.
Yeah.
But if you are so crazy that you want to give it to us, we won't deny you the ability to do so. Freedom.
Yeah, but we're really not hurting for money. I mean, actually, I'm going to be making quite a bit more money because I was just offered a job that I think I'm going to take.
Yeah, and if my job doesn't give me some work to do in the next 2 weeks, I'm going to be looking for a new job. So, yeah.
Yeah, actually, once Scott gets a new job, I think our household income will be 6 figures. Seriously.
Dun, dun, dun.
Woo!
6 figures, 2 people.
No kids, obviously.
And considering we've already bought just about every gadget we need, we can start going for the useless shit.
Yeah.
Like Ferraris.
And double hawks.
Double hawks? Projectors. Oh, I know. Macintoshes.
Yeah.
Dun, dun, dun.
Yeah, but then we'll have one less excuse why we don't do AAC with enhanced whatnot.
Which we're not going to do because I already gave 10 reasons, which is plenty.
Yeah, I'm glad no one brought it up again.
Yeah. Okay. So the show tonight is going to be about hosting because we changed the hosting, and it's a pretty good idea.
Yep, especially since a tiny bit of research opened up a whole new topic we're going to talk about when we're in regards to hosting.
All right, so let's do some newses first. All right, so there was some news today about Linux getting an enhanced Wi-Fi stack. If you don't know, support for wireless in Linux isn't terrific. I mean, you can get just about any wireless card to kind of somewhat work. There are a few cards that work really, really well, and most cards don't work at all or work poorly or hard to get them to work. You have to use a thing called the NDIS wrapper, which basically means you take the Windows driver and you cram it in sideways into Linux like a square peg in a triangle hole.
It should be obvious why that's a bad idea.
Yeah, so this company called DeviceScape, what they make is a stack, an advanced data path 802.11 driver stack. If you don't know what this means, it means this. Let's say RIM owns a company, and RIM makes wireless cards for laptops and things.
I only know to hire people to make Windows drivers.
Well, no, you don't even know how to make drivers. You want to do as little driver making as possible because you're mostly in the business of making and selling cards.
Some other company has Windows. They make drivers for me for Windows.
Right, so DeviceScape will sell you this 802.11 stack. That means that if you want to make a driver to distribute with your wireless card that you want to sell, you need to do very, very little work because most of the work is done for you. They give you all the meat and you just have to put some clothes on it.
I thought you were going to say potatoes.
Oh, okay.
I don't know why you used the word meat.
I don't know. So they give you all the meat and you just add the potatoes.
Yeah, what's with
or
the
you
meat
grill
clothes?
it up.
Meat clothes? I mean, I have a meat helmet, but...
Zamabi.
Yeah, we're going to do a show on inside jokes soon.
Okay, so hold on. All right.
Yeah. This is good news, though. I mean, we had a friend, Alex, who had a laptop that for the longest time, the wireless just you couldn't make it work, and it was painful.
Right, so this DeviceScape company, in the interests of themselves being more awesome, has taken the code for their meat, and they gave it under the GPL to the Linux guys. It'll probably take them a while to shove it in the kernel because, I mean, there's some stuff in the kernel that does the same stuff that this does, and there's some stuff in the kernel that does better than what this does, and this does things better than what the kernel does in some places.
Yeah, they're going to have to look it over, mesh things together, move stuff around.
Yeah, so it's going to take a while, but the odds are pretty good that this code will make it into the Linux kernel, which will mean that it will be very, very easy to get for people to write just about... It'll be very, very easy for Linux device driver writers to write a driver for just about any wireless card using this stuff.
Which is a good thing, because a lot of the reason that hardware isn't supported in Linux is simply that the people who make the hardware don't know or care, or they don't want to put extra effort into something that not that many people use.
Yeah.
It's kind of a catch-22.
The guys who make the hardware don't want to put any effort at all. That's why DeviceScape exists. They did all the effort once, so all the different hardware companies do the tiniest bit of effort.
Yep.
So now, if that company gives their stuff to Linux, well, hey, now only Linux has to do the tiniest bit of effort for each card, which they're just fine with. It's a piece of cake. So, wireless cards. And the other thing is, all of the crazy features of wireless cards that haven't worked quite so right in the past, now they're going to all work just great, and wireless is going to work faster and better and more reliably, and woohoo!
Now, if only we could get ATI to have something like that.
Stupid ATI. I mean, they gave a driver ATI, but
it's terrible.
It's terrible.
It's
not nearly as good or reliable as the NVIDIA driver.
Well, even in Windows, the ATI drivers are pretty piss poor.
Yep.
Yeah, so today, I was poking around the internet, and I noticed that CNN is running a story, and MSNBC picked it up, that there was a virus for the Macintosh, the OS X.
All right.
And I thought, uh-oh, it finally happened. Then I read the story. They were basically reporting on, I'm pretty sure, the Oompa Loompa Trojan that appeared back in like February or March. Not only is it not a virus, and is it nothing new, but it's really not a danger to anyone except an idiot.
How many times are we going to hear some non-technical news group reporting on technical news because they're dumb?
Now, a lot of people have put forth that, MSNBC was breaking this, eh? Maybe a run-up to Vista?
I don't think so.
I don't know.
I think it's just another stupid tech journalist at the Associated Press.
The funny thing is that they was on FARC, and mostly the comments were people with Windows saying, "Yeah, you Linux, you Macintosh people suck. You're just as bad as us. Just people don't target you yet because you're not popular." Now you're gonna have to go through.
I can't believe there's people who still think that. Oh my God! How many times do we need to debunk that stupid myth?
Yep. Real briefly, because I feel like debunking it again. Macintoshes and Linuxes are more secure by design. There's no way around that. They're not 100% secure, but nothing in the world is 100% secure.
Yeah. Well, there is 100% secure. A safe made of indestructible steel with the keys inside of it, and it's locked.
There's no such thing as indestructible steel.
Shut up.
Black hole could get that open.
Shut up. But yeah, that's,
I mean, there's the architect. It's secure, and the code is, at least for Linux, open. So a lot of smart people look at it all the time. And if some smart hacker thinks, "Hey, I can break in," some smart, less evil hacker thinks, "Hey, I can keep people from getting in and fix it."
Mm-hmm.
And as for Macintoshes, they put a lot of money into their software because their software is it. That is their company now. Well, that and iPods.
It's really just the way. I mean, Plan 9 is an operating system. It's also a movie, but that's where it got its name from. And that's if you go to read about Plan 9, just search on Google for Plan 9, and you'll read about this operating system. By design, it's as secure and as awesome as an operating system can be, but at the same time, by design, it's not really useful or practical.
Yeah.
But you'll see how, look, the way this is designed, security is like super perfect. And Linux is designed a lot closer to the way Plan 9 is designed than the way Windows is designed. Even if Linux was the number one operating system in the universe, sure, a lot more people would be trying to break it, but at the same time, all the breakages would be fixed really quickly, a lot slower, a lot faster than the second Tuesday of the month.
Well, I saw someone on Slashdot made a nice analogy to robbers breaking into houses with security systems. They don't break into the houses that have the popular security system. They break into the houses that have the weak security system. Now, before I say my thing of the day, I'd like to say right now that I don't want to get any guff about this being old. Because...
Guff?
MacGuffin? McGruff?
I don't know.
Take a bite out of crime?
Rough.
All right. So I saw an animated GIF from my thing of the day the previous, I think, Monday or Tuesday on Vark. And I wonder what that is. Then, Thursday, I saw it. And I thought, if it weren't for the fact that I already just recorded the show, this would have been my thing of the day. I'll make it my thing of the day Monday. Then it exploded over the internet to the point that someone even posted it in our forums.
I think 2 or 3 people posted it in our forums.
So thus, my thing of the day, for anyone who hasn't already seen it, because god damn it, it was an awesome thing that no one had seen when I saw it. Shut up. Okay, so I'm sure you've all heard of Firefox Flicks. It's basically a contest to make ads for Firefox. And this was the second place winner of the contest.
Even though it technically broke all the rules of the contest.
Yeah, it probably would have been in first place if it weren't for the fact that it broke almost every rule.
Yeah.
Because it's hilarious.
It is hilarious.
I can't say any more other than that it is an accurate representation of the web browsers out there.
I like how Opera wasn't represented at all.
Yeah.
Because no one cares about Opera. That's why it wasn't there.
I'll care a lot more when I get it on my DS.
Yeah, probably. Anyway, my thing of the day. Well, this isn't funny or anything like that as usual. There's this guy, Douglas Rushkoff. I've known about him for like 6 years.
Yeah, in fact, you won his contest.
I did win a contest, and he sent me like a signed copy of his latest book, which is about innovation from the inside out. But anyway, he's an author. He's an adjunct professor of media something at NYU. He's on all kinds of documentaries. I think he did 2 different Frontline documentaries. One of them was the very popular Merchants of Cool. He basically knows all about marketing and trends and media and all that sort of stuff. And he's really, really smart. Like, he's an intellectual for a living. Like, goddamn. And currently he's writing this cool comic book called Testament, which is biblical, but also not biblical at the same time. You should actually, if you haven't read it, go to the comic book store and find issue 1. I think the trade paperback should be out or either this month or next month.
Well, speaking as the one who doesn't like comics so much, I'm probably going to read it because it does look good.
Yeah, it's not a superhero comic. It's like what they do is they'll have like a story in like a somewhat near future. It's two stories at once. It's Bible stories and somewhat near future sci-fi stories. And he'll show you some kids like rebelling against the evil Big Brother government, and they all have RFID tags in their hands. And then he'll show you a story from the Bible, like every other page, and they match up. Like the characters match up and what they're doing matches up, and it's like, oh, that's what I have to learn from that story in the Bible. But this isn't like your bullshit grandma Christian Bible. This is like the real deal, too. Like, if you haven't read some, what's the word for them? The books that didn't make it?
The apocryphal texts?
Yeah, apocryphal texts.
Yeah, like the Gospel of Judah.
And if you don't
Judas.
and if you don't know actual history as opposed to just biblical history, then a lot of this won't make sense. However, he also wrote this book. He's a big Jew. Let me just say he's a big Jew. Like, he lives in Brooklyn, he's a big Jew. And I wasn't really sure how much of a Jew he was. I read his book called like Nothing Sacred. It was all about like what being a Jew is really all about and this stuff, and it's actually pretty cool. Like, it's not religious. It's about Judaism from some other kind of standpoint. I don't think there's really too many books about religion like that one.
Yeah, well, this is you coming from Mr. Open Source Jugal.
Yeah, that's what this guy came up with, open source Judaism, this guy. Anyway, today on his blog, he came out with this article that was like, holy crap! And that's my thing of the day, is this article on his blog.
It was a good article, I gotta say.
Goddamn. So, this is a guy, remember, this guy's wife wrote a book about fun things to do on Hanukkah. He's a Jew. And the name of this article is Faith Equals Illness. Why I've Had It with Religious Tolerance. Okay, so let's get into this God game. There's no goddamn God.
Goddamn.
Goddamn. So this is a big Jew saying there's no God. Usually, if you talk to like Hasids and like super Jews, like really, really religious Orthodox Jews, they'll like kind of dodge the question. You'd be like, there's no God. He hasn't done any miracles. And they'll be like, mumble, mumble, tradition, mumble. Mumble, my father did it, mumble, mumble.
Always with the mumbling.
Yeah. They don't. I don't think a lot of them actually believe in like magical craziness. They just believe in like, their Jew stuff. I'm sure there are some who believe in magical craziness, but
Kabbalah.
I haven't really met so many of them. So, in this article, what he writes about is basically there's no God, and we need to use the Bible should be the weapon of atheists. And it's really cool because he talks about it all from his media genius standpoint.
Yeah, like co-opting stories from the Bible and making them relevant so that they can't be seen literally, but you have to accept them as the aphorisms that they are or the metaphors that they are.
Yep, which is really what it's about. I mean, I think that's how of a Jew he is like he won't eat. He looks at like a passage in the in the Torah, and it says, don't cook a calf in its mother's milk. Well, the crazy Jews, they stay kosher, and he says, well, that obviously just means that you shouldn't add insult to injury. So not only does he not add insult to injury, but, he won't eat like chicken and eggs just for like symbolism's sake, to remind him, not for any I'm going to be smitten reason. At least I remember him saying that once.
You've said about 1,000 times.
What'd I say I know?
You just said
God damn it.
Yeah. We were just talking about how you say like too much.
Well, I'm done with this thing of the day. Everyone should read it.
Yeah. It's interesting. His main point seems to be that the best way to... And he really seems to be kind of bent on getting rid of Christianity, and religion in general, but Christianity, is to make the Bible relevant to modern life in a very direct way.
Mm-hmm. Well, his comic book does a real good job of that. And so does his Jew book. So, if you're interested in that stuff, I recommend you read.
So,
his other stuff is about business and selling people stuff, and or avoiding being sold stuff too.
Coercion.
Yeah.
So,
God damn it. All right, I'm going to try to stop saying so, and like.
Do I have to play a buzzer every time you say one of those words?
I don't know if it'll help.
Well, I'll try it for the next few minutes until I either get sick of it or stop noticing.
Okay.
Or my headache destroys me and I just stop talking.
All right.
Yeah, anyway, we're talking about hosting today.
Mm-hmm.
Since one, people have asked us about it, and two, we didn't really talk about it in depth at our podcasting panel because it is kind of a technical subject.
Well, the first thing you need to know about hosting is what the hell do you want to do?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people say like, oh, I have internet hosting, but unless you're going to do something with it, you're just pissing money down a well.
Well, do you want to have a web page? Do you want to have a blog? What kind of blog do you want to have? Do you want to do a podcast? Do you want to have a game server? Do you want to have a TeamSpeak server? Maybe some other sort of server of some kind? Do you want to use Hamachi? Do you want you want to have a Jabber server? We got to figure out what you're going to serve before you pick your hosting.
Yeah, because there are a lot of options. I mean, to contrast it this way, the two ends of the spectrum. On one end, you've got like Akamai static content with like clusters of JBoss, WebSphere, awesome application servers running crazy enterprise stuff.
That's Google.
Thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars a second, or what have you.
Enterprise nuttiness.
On the other end, you've got GeoCities with 2 megabytes of web space for free.
Or Blogspot, or LiveJournal. You get a free blog, you get a free LiveJournal.
MySpace.
Yeah, MySpace. There you go.
I mean, basically, there is an option for everyone in every situation, and you really have to figure out what you're going to do and then narrow your choices down. I mean, do you want web hosting or full-on hosting? When most people say they have hosting, they mean they have web hosting.
Mm-hmm. Most web hosts aren't really web hosts. Well, they are, but they're not really giving you a computer or even a fake computer. They're giving you some space on an existing web server, and they're giving you a website with which you can manage your space on that web server, and you can only put certain things in that space. It's like if I had set up a whole Linux machine, and on that Linux machine I create an htdocs directory, and I say, you can do whatever you want in that directory, but you can't go anywhere else in this computer or do anything else.
Yep, so nothing dynamic, no scripts, nothing
well,
special.
Well, they might enable like PHP and MySQL in there and give you a certain
number
of databases or email
that, I guess,
addresses.
is the next step up.
Yeah.
From just web hosting, straight up crap web hosting.
Oh. Yeah, static web hosting is kind of blah.
Yeah, that's what GeoCities and what was that other place back in the day?
That's what it used to be, yeah.
Yeah.
But then they added, okay, now you can have PHP, which is the same damn thing, only now you can put a WordPress in there if you want to.
Which seems to be the wave of the future. I mean, not many people make static web pages anymore, except, small businesses and restaurants who don't know better.
Yeah. I don't remember the last time I made a static web page.
I made one for a class I took my freshman year at RIT.
Oh, yeah, I guess I made some in school when I had to.
You know the worst thing is about that page I made? I put it up on my GeoCities account because I happen to still have the hosting there. And it's still there, and now I don't know the password or anything, so I can't go get rid of it.
You know what the thing is now? Even if I wanted to do something I've done before with like a static web page, like I remember I made a static web page for a project I did in computer graphics 2. If I was doing that today, I wouldn't make a static web page by writing HTML. I would install a wiki and then do it.
Yep.
It's just no reason to make a static web page anymore. But that's web hosting. If all you want is a web page or a blog, if you're just doing a blog and nothing else, you should probably do a Blogspot or WordPress.com or one of those things.
Yeah, WordPress.com is free.
Is it really?
I believe it is.
Oh, I never checked it out. I don't know.
It's supposed to be pretty cool. I haven't actually needed to use it since we have hosting.
Mm-hmm. Or LiveJournal, any of those things would be just fine for you. Don't bother spending money on it.
Yeah, there's a big line between not spending money and spending money.
Mm-hmm.
There's also a big line between spending a pittance and actually spending money.
Yeah. If you really want to have a blog where you can do all kinds of things and maybe use a WordPress or movable type or something like that, and you don't want to do a free thing, then you're going to want to pay like $5-10 a month.
Yeah, I mean, literally, for $5 or $10 a month, you can get enough bandwidth to cover any amount of slashdotting and a nice host, as long as you don't try to post Photoshops to FARC on a regular basis.
Yeah, don't post Photoshops to FARC.
Those places will probably also do your email for you.
Mm-hmm. Now, if you want to do something like photo heavy, you can use Flickr or some such. I think there's a Flickr competitor now, actually. and you'll have plenty of image hosting and all that stuff, and you won't have to pay for a giant host full of storage space and all that crap.
Yeah, basically, you're still just basically doing I said basically twice, 3 times. Anyway.
And Flickr's really cheap. Flickr's like $25 a year.
But at this point, I mean, you're making web pages. You're making it may be dynamic, but it's not heavy content. And the prices scale very, very easily toward more and more bandwidth because you're not doing anything fancy.
Mm-hmm. More and more storage space, more and more bandwidth, more email addresses, more MySQL databases, because you're going to need one per blog.
Yeah, but if you're going this route, I mean, you'll get up to, if you get to the $40, $45 a month range, you've got a crazy amount of bandwidth for most normal activities.
For $40, $45 a month, you shouldn't be using something that's just a web interface to a web page. You probably should be getting something more for your money.
Well, it depends on what kind of person you are. I mean, more for your money also means you have to do more.
That's true.
Unless you go to the far end of the spectrum.
Yep. All right, so the next level of hosting is actually, it starts to break apart. There are 3 different types. Well, okay. There's managed and unmanaged hosting.
That's a good dichotomy.
Managed is when someone else takes care of the shit for you.
Now, they might not
the
take care of
hosting we were
all of
talking
it.
about before, where you just have a web interface, is technically managed because they take care of all the software on the computer. All you have to worry about is your web content. Everything else is taken care of for you. But you can also get managed hosting where someone takes care of that stuff for you, but you're not confined to a web interface. You're actually getting a computer or a fake computer.
Yep. Or even to the point where someone takes care of the physical computer, but you take care of everything else.
Or you just tell someone what to do, and they do it for you. Like, okay, I need you to do this and this and this and this and this, and then they do it for you.
And basically at this point, the only difference between the 2 routes is that the more managed you want it to be, the more you want other people to take care of for you,
and
the more you're going to have to pay for each increment of betterness.
Yeah, and if you can't find a hosting solution that already matches what you want and you want something special, now you're going to have to pay even more money. Unmanaged is where you have a computer and you have to do it yourself.
I mean, that could be either you have a cable modem and you've got a web server under your desk, all the way up to you co-locate, which is where you build a computer, you ship it off to someone, and they maintain the computer for you, but you do everything else yourself. It's your computer completely. All they do is plug it in to the wall and plug it into the Ethernet, and then they don't touch it. You call them if you want it rebooted.
Yep. Now, if you want a hard rebooted, you should be able to soft reboot it from far away.
Yeah, well, hard reboot. I mean, if you want it rebooted, you screwed something up.
That's for sure.
Because you're not hosting this on Windows.
No, you're not. If you're hosting with Windows, you got a problem. Even though a lot of people do, it's scary.
Yeah, it is scary.
And they remote desktop in and do stuff, and
Though, at least worldwide, most people use Apache.
Yeah, even they might be running it on Windows.
Yeah, but most people run Apache on Linux or BSD.
Yeah, LAMP is number 1, pretty much. Linux, Apache, MySQL, PHP, Perl, Ruby, Python, whatever. Okay.
Lamper bigger.
Yeah. Well, the P technically stands for Python, Perl, or PHP, usually PHP, but they threw Ruby in there because now a lot of people ride the Rails.
Well, we're going off in a lot of directions, so I guess let's describe exactly what we have for hosting.
All right,
kind of a nice scenario of what our needs were, what we got, and then why we upgraded.
All right. We have a Linode. Linode is sort of a special host that fits our needs exactly, which is why we have them. They're unlike almost every other host there is.
Yes.
It's a mildly managed solution, which means they don't do anything for me, but they have really good tech support. So if I have a problem, I just say, hey, and then bam, someone does stuff for me.
Yep. To put it in fairly non-technical terms, they have a big Linux computer. Well, they have a whole bunch of them.
They have a whole bunch of them, but there's just one that we care about that's really big.
And they chop it up into a whole bunch of virtual little Linux computers.
You can actually do this at home. If you have any computer, you can install user mode Linux on it. And what this allows you to do is turn any Linux computer into any number of Linux computers. So even though you have one CPU physically, you can actually, your network and, for all intents and purposes, you could have 100 Linux computers if you have enough RAM.
Now, this is really great for, hosting, like we're talking about, or for anyone who ever works in a school or teaches. It's a great way to set up a classroom.
Or for developers.
Yes, if you have to test on multiple Linuxes.
You want to test something out on a bunch of different Linuxes, but you only have one computer sitting there? Perfect.
Or if you're just a hobbyist and you want to play around with something cool.
Yeah. So they have a giant computer, and it's split up into smaller computers. We get one of the smaller computers. So from our perspective, I have a perfectly normal Linux computer where I'm the root and I'm the master and I can do whatever I want. It has a lot of bandwidth, and it doesn't crash, and everything's cool.
Yep. And basically what they do is they guarantee us we'll get at least this much CPU at any given time. We could get more depending on what the box is doing, but we have a guaranteed minimum. That's how most hostings work. They'll guarantee you a minimum amount of X. They'll guarantee you at least X bandwidth.
Mm-hmm.
That sort of thing.
Yeah, we have a limit of 200 gigabytes per month of transfer.
Yeah, now it used to be half that.
Gigabytes.
Yeah. It used to be half that, though. We started with, it was a $40 a month Linode.
Mm-hmm.
And
that meant 160 megabytes of RAM, I don't know, like 6 gigs of hard drive space, I think. I'm not sure.
Not too much.
Yeah, if you go to linode.com, we should probably link to it.
Yeah.
And you click on Linodes, you'll see all the different Linodes. We had the Linode 160, now we have the Linode 320, which is $80 a month, and everything's doubled.
Yep, now we went with the $40 a month one because early on, Scott basically just got it for his blog.
Yep, and that one was just fine.
And it was perfect. I mean, he used it a lot. I saw it, and I thought it was really cool. And I was actually thinking about getting one for me back then, but I never did because, well, we started Geeknights.
Yep.
So we used his, and then Emily wanted a website, and we had plenty of space, so we hosted it. And then we took over, we were helping work with this gaming group near us. We've talked about them before. So we started hosting their website, and then we ran into a problem.
We didn't run out of hard drive space, even with all those Geeknights episodes on there.
Yep, and the CPU was getting pegged, but it wasn't anywhere near the breaking point.
Yep, we were starting to run out of bandwidth, but as soon as we got Libsyn, that was no longer a problem.
Yep, we'll talk about them later.
But we started to run out of RAM because when you run vhosts with Apache spawns a whole nother set of processes and eats up memory.
Yep, because we only had, then we only had one, but now we have
160
more.
megabytes.
But we have X IP addresses, and we have X plus Y domains pointing at our place.
Mm-hmm.
So we have virtual hosting, where one web server is hosting a bunch of different domains, and it takes RAM to figure all that crap out.
Well, kind of, yeah.
I don't want to go into detail of virtual hosting. That's another show. We'll do the Apache show someday.
All right. So we ran out of RAM. I fixed that by making some swap space, but that makes everything go slow and shitty.
Yeah, you might have noticed that Geeknight's site was slowly getting slower over the past several weeks.
Now I have more RAM than we know what to do with.
Yep, because it got to the point where we realized, all right, we've already outgrown our hosting. Let's pay more for more.
Mm-hmm.
And the thing is, if you have any amount of money when you want to host something, you'll never run into a problem because you can always just throw more money at it and it'll get better.
Mm-hmm. Now, I could have solved the problem by switching from Apache to Light HTTPD or whatever you want to call it. The problem with that is it would have been significantly more downtime to switch to that than to switch to the better Linode.
Yep, and there was more that could have gone wrong that we would have had to then stare at and yell about.
Yeah, I'm currently looking for a way to possibly, when the new version of Ubuntu 6,
Dapper Drake,
when Dapper Drake comes out, I'm going to look into a way to switch to Dapper Drake with Light TTPD without getting a lot of downtime.
Yep, because see, the way the Linode works now is that basically they have a list of operating system images. And instead of having to do it all manually install, we just picked what operating system we want. And we say, put an image of that on our Linode. And it goes bing.
Yep, when you get a Linode, at first it's completely blank. Then you choose a distribution, how much space you want it to take up, among other options, and it just does it for you. And they have a bunch of distributions you can choose from, whatever you like.
Scott picked Gentoo for a number of reasons, though we're slowly leaning more toward Ubuntu in general as time goes on. Because I love Gentoo, but it's a pain in the ass sometimes.
Yeah, now it's less of a pain in the ass. I tried out the GUI installer today, but we'll hold off on that.
Yeah.
Anyway, what you can also do is you can split up your hard drive space and install a whole bunch of distributions. However, you can only use one at a time on Linode. So you got to pick one.
Yeah, but anyway, you see, we don't pay that much. I mean, $80 a month for a lot of power and a lot of space and a lot of bandwidth. But we have to do all the work.
Mm-hmm.
If you want the similar level of hosting, but you don't want to do all that work, it'll probably cost you more like $120 a month.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But it's how much is your time worth to you? If you don't know anything about Linux, you're going to spend a lot of time learning it in short order if you try to do what we just did.
Yeah, a lot of people in the Linode forums are like, will someone take care of my Linode for me? And everyone's like, why did you get a Linode? This isn't for you. This is for people who want to be able to do anything. I mean, how many hosts out there can you go and say, hey, I need a Jabber server and a TeamSpeak server, and I want to use this weird web server that's not Apache, and I want to use this weird email thing, and you can't get anyone to do that for you. You have to get a Linode and set it up yourself, because the only way to get those sorts of services to have your own Linux computer out in the real world with those things on it.
See, because there's the big difference, too. Most people only want web hosting. We host our own Jabber server, Front Row Crew. That's why if you ever talk to us on Jabber, it's Rim or Scott at frontrowcrew.com.
Mm-hmm.
We don't host our own email because emails...
We did host our own email, but then it sucked, so I switched it to using Gmail for hosted
for reasons
domains
that we'll talk about in yet another show. Wow, we're just spawning off Monday shows tonight.
We sure are.
Hosting your own email can be done, and we've done it. It sucks. It really, really is not trivial to run an email server in this day and age.
No, it is not.
Mostly because of all the stuff you have to do to protect yourself from spam and to make sure other people can actually get your messages because they're trying to protect themselves from spam.
And remember when I talked about virtual hosting having more than one domain? More than one domain on the same computer and the same IP address for a web server is relatively easy. More than one domain for the same email server is hell.
Partly
hell,
because
hell.
the email, as you all may know, is very old. It hasn't changed much in a long, long time.
And there are some email servers you can use these days, like Qmail, that are better alternatives to the old SendMail and Postfix. And I think there's Exim also. And they're a little easier, but they're still a huge pain in the ass to make them do what you want them to do.
Plus, your IP address might just be in a range that someone doesn't like, and then your email won't work anyway.
Yeah. If you use, I might send someone an email and they won't get it because spam filters.
Yep.
Even though I'm not a spammer, they don't know I'm not. They might whitelist.
So I'll say right now, I would highly recommend, not as a plug or anything, but Gmail for domains. If you can get a hold of that, that is awesome.
All right. So there's also co-location, which we talked about a little bit. It's where you send a computer off to the middle of nowhere.
In terms of the work you'll have to do, it's mostly the same as what we have to do now with our Linode. It's your computer.
Yeah, the difference is that you make a computer. You can send any computer you want. You could go to the Newegg and buy a computer that has any amount of CPU, hard drive, or whatever that you need, and then you send it somewhere. And what you do is you pay them a monthly fee to keep your computer. What they give you for that money is, number one, a guarantee usually that no one's going to mess with your computer, like physical security. No one can get in the building unless they're an employee, et cetera, et cetera. Two, they make sure your computer doesn't fill up with dust. They make sure the power doesn't go out because they have generators.
Yep, they got air conditioning. They'll watch it if it overheats or beeps at them.
Yep. If your hard drive crashes, they'll probably take care of you as long as you pay for a new hard drive. All that sort of good stuff. They give you a network connection that's really fast, a lot faster than what you have at home. They'll give you a certain amount of bandwidth. They will guarantee that it'll be up for a certain percentage of time, usually 99 or 100% of the time. They'll give you a real IP address.
Now, co-location itself, wanting to do it or not, it's if you basically only co-locate if you need a lot of power or you have a specialized thing you need to do, because it tends to be more expensive.
Yeah, I think the last time I looked, it's like $100 a month for like some kind of normal co-location, but it's usually more.
Plus, you have to buy the hardware.
Yeah,
which can scale. I mean, a server can cost between $400,000 and $40,000.
Yep.
Yes, that was a 40. Though the biggest server I've ever actually played with was a $6,000 1U little. 1U means it's really thin, and it goes in a rack. Little X series cool thing from IBM.
Yeah. The real reason that co-location is popular is for game servers. That's like the number one use of co-location. If you want to run a Counter-Strike server, if you want to run it behind a cable modem in your house, it's not so easy because you either had to expose it to the internet or you have to fiddle with routers, and your cable modem, the IP address might change sometimes. It's not so easy.
You probably got really, really little upstream bandwidth.
Yeah, that's the other thing. Sure, you can always just host something in your house through their cable modem or your DSL.
Except email. Almost any ISP will block email.
Yes, that's true. The problem with hosting something behind a cable modem in your house is there's a few problems. Number one, you don't have a guaranteed static IP address. It might change. It usually won't, but it might.
Number two, you don't have a guaranteed internet connection.
Yeah, it might go down. Your power might go out.
Our cable modem has gone down before. We're sitting here and I've got the finished episode and I can't upload it because I have no internet.
Yeah, we can't upload it, but at least other people can still weed through our archives. Hello, yay.
Oh, wee.
Yeah. 3, if you have some sort of router, it becomes a huge pain in the ass to have servers in your house behind your router.
Yes, because if you only have one IP address if you have an ISP and you're getting cable modem or whatever. Very few people pay for multiple IP addresses because network address translation, has pretty much obviated that need.
Mm-hmm.
However, NAT often breaks things in ways that you might not realize unless you know how NAT works.
So if you want to host anything in the real world, you need a real IP address, like with no NAT in the way at all.
I still mostly recommend something like a Linode or a managed host as opposed to co-locating, because co-locating involves a lot more work, like we've said many times, and really, unless you have a specialized need, you don't really need that.
Yep.
Because if you're just running a web server, it doesn't matter what hardware it's on. It doesn't matter anything. You just need to know how fast it is and how much bandwidth you have.
Mm-hmm. The other reasons that you don't want to host a server inside your house is because cable networks tend to be full of, worms floating around, and IP addresses at hosted locations tend not to have being attacked by worms constantly. So if you're doing a Windows host, you don't want to put it in your cable modem area.
Also, you start torrenting and suddenly your server disappears.
Yeah, that's a great one. Yeah. So you can put something, and there are solutions to solve some of the problems of trying to host something from your house, like dynamic DNS and such, but those things don't work that well.
It's really not worth it.
And they're a pain in the ass.
I mean, and you'll only need the server, basically, like Sad said, if you're running a game server.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're running anything other than a game server that needs something specialized like that and a lot of horsepower, you're probably doing something big that's going to cost you money anyway.
Yeah. A lot of people try to do too much with it. And they don't want to spend money, but they want to do a lot of stuff. Well, you're going to have to spend money if you want to do it well. You're just going to do a shitty job if you try to not pay enough money.
Now, in regards to co-location and game servers specifically, I can't come up with any offhand because I haven't cared about this in at least 3 years. But there are many services out there that will co-locate or host for you game servers.
Mm-hmm.
They're actually really cheap.
Yeah, because hosting a game server, especially for a modern game, I don't know if you want to make, I guess, Battlefield, do they have servers?
Let's just say a Half-Life 2 something.
All right, a Counter-Strike source server. You kind of need a lot of horsepower for a Counter-Strike source server.
You also actually do need more bandwidth than you'd think.
Yeah, especially if you want to have a lot of players. If you want a 5-player server, it doesn't have to be that powerful. If you want a 20, 30-player server, you need a serious freaking computer.
Yeah, that's why you can't really host game servers with normal hosts. Because our Linode, we get like 50 or 100 megahertz guaranteed on the processor? It's not much.
It's not much.
Now, we ran...
Because a web server doesn't need that much.
We ran a moderately popular Counter-Strike server when we were at RIT. It was this crapo computer that we threw in the corner, plugged into the wall.
It's a Pentium 3 450.
Let me put it this way. RIT had 2 OC3s and a T3. We had basically infinite bandwidth and a direct link to Internet 2. If more than 6 or 7 people connected to our server, the pings went up to about 700 and then it crashed.
Yeah, and that was Counter-Strike 1.
Running the tiniest map we could find, Icy World.
Icy World was the only map it could handle. If we tried to use a bigger map, it would crash.
Now, I'm going to give you all out there who may want to host a game server the ultimate secret. The best way to host game servers in the world is to either be in college or know someone in college. Mm-hmm. Every good game server you've ever played on is either subsidized by a company or subsidized by a big webcomic or something, or it's some guy running it under his desk in college.
An extra computer sitting around in a college is awesome because colleges have crazy bandwidth, crazy numbers of players, and all you really need to do is get an awesome computer and stick it in the college somewhere, and you're gold. You don't need to buy co-location. You don't need to pay for anything. You're all set.
And the best thing is, if you're a geek and you're in college now, you'll probably, for the rest of your life, still know someone who knows someone who's at that college. Mm-hmm. You can pass servers down through the generations.
As long as no one's a fucker.
Yeah, but if we make that tribe server, I imagine we're going to have it hosted somewhere on RIT's network.
No, I think we might do it under my desk. We'll see.
We'll see.
With the Hamachi, because Hamachi's awesome now.
Yeah, but I'll bet we could get it at RIT.
Maybe we could. That'd be cool. All right. Another thing is dedicated hosting. Dedicated hosting just means that they give you a computer that's dedicated to you. Normally, when you get hosting, they split up a computer into a bunch of pieces, and you get a piece of it. Dedicated just means we have a server here. If you get dedicated hosting, we give you the whole server. It's all yours. You don't have to share it with anyone. And it's kind of expensive depending on what they usually charge you based on what kind of server they give you. Like if you want, they'll say like, for this wussy server you pay this much. For this awesome crazy server you pay this much. For this insane server you pay a fortune. For this biggest server we've got, we take your firstborn. That's how it works.
Now, we said we'd talk about specifically what we have, and we talked about Linode and then went off on a tangent. But we do have 2 other hostings. We actually use 3 separate hostings for Geeknights. We have the Linode, which is basically everything. It's the websites, the databases, the jabbers.
The forums.
Everything that is dynamic is on our web server, the Linode. And this is kind of the same way that most companies do it, because you have the dynamic content on your local server, and then the static content is cached or hosted somewhere else.
Mm-hmm.
We host all of our static content, i.e. the podcasts, e.g. the podcasts, on Libsyn, which we don't like, but I hate to say this, there are really no competitors in the market right now.
There are some, but they're not just as bad.
They're worse.
Or worse.
I mean...
Yeah.
Basically, podcasts are going to present a unique problem to people who want to host.
Well, it's as people want to host different sorts of services out on the internet, they have different needs. Gaming people need a lot of CPU and a lot of RAM, but they don't really need hard drive space, and they don't need so much bandwidth. They just need high-speed pings and such.
Podcasters need something that until recently was only the realm of people with deep pockets.
Yeah,
you need lots of bandwidth, and you need lots of storage space that will continue to grow at a steady rate forever.
But you don't really need CPU... And you don't really need so much RAM. You just need storage and bandwidth.
Yep, you don't even need
You don't even
really
need
good
it to
latency.
be fast. You just need it to be bandwidth. A lot of data, even if it goes slowly, as long as it goes reliably.
Now, the problem is, podcasting, while it's cool and popular, it hasn't really taken off yet. So there's not a huge market for people that cater to podcasters. Podcasters have very unique, specific needs that are not easily met by the market.
Mm-hmm. So recently, people like Libsyn have sprung up to, fill this void in the market, but they're not too good at it yet.
They're definitely wave 1 companies.
Mm-hmm.
Whenever there's a new trend on the internet, or actually in the world in general, like a new thing appears, there's always the first wave. And the first wave are the people who got into the market quick. Then there's the second wave of people who get into the market well.
Mm-hmm. We're going to ride both waves, and we're not going to stop riding unless we die.
I mean, honestly, the only reason we use Libsyn is because they're the only people out there that offer what we need for any amount of money we would be willing to pay.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We would have to pay hundreds of dollars a month to get that much bandwidth from a dedicated real host.
Yep. It's a problem. I mean, look at the Libsyn for $80 a month. We get 200 gigabytes.
We don't pay $80 a month. We pay $20.
Oh no, I mean for the Linode.
Yeah,
we pay $80 a month for 200 gigabytes of transfer. We're doing about 100 gigabytes of transfer right now.
Yes.
So how long?
And remember, that's 100 gigabytes, counting the fact that most of our MP3s are not there anymore.
Yeah,
Our archives alone generate almost that. That and the RSS feed and the forums.
Yeah, it's not the greatest.
Now, Libsyn, we're paying, $20 a month, and we get infinity bandwidth.
Infinity.
And infinity storage space.
Woo! Well, it's not technically infinity, because we can only there's a limit on how much podcasting we can do, but we don't break the limit.
Yep, we're pretty much on the limit, because I didn't want to pay for the next step up, because that's way more than we need. Mm-hmm. For now, unless I really up the audio quality to something crazy, which isn't going to happen until we get new microphones, so...
Yeah. The last thing you need to know about hosting, short of crazy enterprise stuff, which we'll talk about last, because no one really cares about that. I don't think any company executives are listening.
Yeah, if anyone really wants to know about that stuff, ask us, and we'll do a show on it, because I've worked for IBM, and I've done that stuff, and I can tell you a lot about it.
Last thing we really need to talk about is domains. A domain is really just, we'll explain this at some point in the future when we talk about how computers work.
Yep.
It's just a name that turns into an IP address.
You type google.com and it goes to 62.something.
Yep. All domain names are words that turn into IP addresses by DNS.
So
when you type
little
in,
trivia for everyone out there, domain names are actually backwards.
Yeah. It's Google.
Well, it's dot. Dot is the root.
.com, .google, .www.
Yeah.
So you go to com, and then you go down to Google, and then under Google you go to www.
It's strictly hierarchical.
Mm-hmm. So, anyway, so frontrowcrew.com, when you go there, the DNS says frontrowcrew.com is this IP address, and then you talk to that IP address. The only reason we have this system is that people don't have to memorize IP addresses, which would be a nightmare.
Yes. Especially if IPv6 ever happens.
So this is why you need an IP address that doesn't change very often, because if you have a changing IP address, then you need dynamic DNS to make the domain names keep pointing to the correct address.
However, if you have a dynamic address, then you're probably somewhere with an ISP who doesn't want you hosting things anyway, and they're going to try to stop you.
Yep, and not only that, but dynamic DNS is a little slow, so there'll be periods of time where your IP address is changed and people are asking, hey, what's the IP address for your domain? And it gives them the old IP address, and it doesn't work.
It's also finicky, and more importantly, most people who offer DNS hosting don't support DDNS for you because it's a pain in the ass for them.
And it's really not a real solution. You should be paying for hosting that's real, and we have a real IP address, and you're out in the real internet and not hidden behind some router.
Now, when you have a domain, you can make infinity things under it. Eventually, the rest of the Front Row crew, we'd like to give them space on Front Row Crew, so we could have, the whaleshark.frontrowcrew.com.
A.frontrowcrew.com, B.frontrowcrew.com, C.frontrowcrew.com.
And also, the way DNS works, to go over this really briefly, like we said, we have our email hosted with Google, even though it's from Front Row Crew. The way we do that, and I think we mentioned this before, is the MX record, because DNS has different kinds of records. There's one kind of record that says, all right, websites going to frontrowcrew.com go that way. Email going to frontrowcrew.com go that way. And we pointed that one at Gmail.
Mm-hmm. So if anyone tries to send us mail to a certain domain, the mail goes to a different IP address than everything else, because the MX record is the special mail record.
Now, domains are really cheap, and if you want to do anything on the internet, get one.
Yeah, I mean, different places have them for different prices, for different lengths of time. All you have to do is remember, renew it if you're going to use it. If you're not going to keep using it, don't renew it. Don't buy too many domains, just a waste of money.
Don't buy a .biz.
Yeah.
That was the biggest failed experiment. No one uses .biz except shady companies.
There's really no law that says you have to buy a certain top-level domain. Like, you can run an org with a .com, and you can do a .com under an org.
Yeah, there used to be more strict rules about this, but there's really no way to enforce it.
Yeah, but just try to do whatever you want. I mean, and do what sounds right.
We've debated for a while between frontrowcrew.com and frontrowcrew.net because they both kind of fit what we were planning on doing.
Yeah. Net really doesn't mean anything anymore.
Yeah, but generally I use net to mean like a network, like a group of people collaborating, or a group, or a bunch of services that are all going to be under one name, anything like that.
Yeah, I have net for my blog just because it sounds better.
Yeah, com is the most generic. Com is just generic.
Yeah, com is pretty much anything. I mean, technically it's commercial things, but anything can be com. It doesn't matter.
Org, you should really only use org if you're some sort of nonprofit.
Yeah. I mean, Slashdot has slashdot.org, so there's really no law.
Oh, yeah. But I mean, like, a lot of open source projects choose .org specifically because of that.
Yeah, that's a really good example there.
You can't get .edu, don't try.
You can't get .edu, you can get .us, you can get .tv. You should really only get TV if you're going to do, like, a video podcast or something like that.
Yeah, and you should really only get US if you're trying to do some cool Web 2.0 thing.
Yeah, like delicious.
Yeah. I'm thinking about getting nutritious and making some sort of other thing.
Recipe site with tags, tag recipes. I'm pretty sure there's something for tag recipes already.
But if there is, why didn't they take
anyone
nutritious?
Does it, we got it right here as our prior art.
Yeah, bitches.
And if they've already done it, well, they punned us.
.int you can't get.
Nope.
Most people don't even know
.gov,
.int exists.
.mil you can't get. Yeah. You can get other countries. Other countries, what they do is they have like .co. the country, and then
that's the standard for the whole internet. But basically, because the United States kind of invented the internet and built it in the early days, we really kind of ran roughshod over the whole thing. So we have all the good .coms, but some UK company ends up with .co.uk instead.
Yep. But that's cool because then people who live in like Russia know to go to .ru sites, and they never go to the stupid US sites.
Yep, unless you want to.
Unless you want to. But I mean, there's google.co.ru. I'm pretty sure there is.
Now, we have the Libsyn, and we have the Linode, and we also have the FeedBurner, which is totally free.
FeedBurner is not really hosting. I mean,
well, they host our
host,
RSS for us.
Yeah, kind of. They don't really host. It's not a hosting company. All they do is you send them an RSS feed, and they spruce it up, and that way you tell people to go read the FeedBurner RSS feed, which is spruced up properly.
Yeah, meaning we don't have to fiddle with it to make it look right in iTunes.
Yeah, because it's a pain in the ass to do that.
I mention them only because you should remember that if you want a specific thing, like a simple specific thing on the internet, there's probably a company out there that offers it for free or for very little.
Yeah, like if all you want is a mailing list, you don't need to go get a dedicated server, set up a mail server, set up Major Domo, whatever the thing is called, and then set up a mailing list. There's someone who will give you just a mailing list, probably for free, maybe with an ad on it.
In fact, we use FeedBlitz for another site we run.
Yeah, FeedBlitz I think does it. I think Yahoo Groups
FeedBlitz actually
is
kind of cool. It'll turn an RSS feed into an email list.
Yep. Yeah, if you don't like RSS readers, but you like email, and you want to get an email every time some website updates, and that website has an RSS feed, FeedBlitz, you can set it. There are other services do the same thing. FeedBlitz might not be the best one.
Yeah, though FeedBurner says they're going to offer that. I haven't looked into it yet, but we might offer that on the site under a link somewhere for anyone who really hates RSS.
Yeah, you'll get an email every time Geeknights updates.
Yeah, 4 days a week, great.
Yeah, or every time you'll get one every Monday reminding you to go listen to Geeknights, whatever. But yeah, you can basically pick any blog or any podcast in the world and say, hey, yeah, I want to be emailed every time this guy updates. It's good for people who update infrequently, possibly with long posts that are email-sized, and good for reading an email readers.
Yeah, maybe you got a BlackBerry.
Yeah, that'll make it cool.
God, I hope my new job doesn't give me a BlackBerry.
Every
job I interviewed at, they were like, yeah, we'll give you a BlackBerry. And I was like, crap.
We can BlackBerry each other.
Great.
Just what we want to do. So yeah, that's hosting. Step 1, figure out why you want hosting. Do you even need hosting?
Yep. Step 2, Google and figure out who offers what you want.
Yeah. Get exactly what you want. Don't pay for stuff you're not going to use.
Yep, because it's usually very easy to upgrade in the future if you need more.
Mm-hmm.
You can always just throw money at the problem. But don't throw money at it before you need to throw money at it, because then you're just wasting money.
And go do it. There's something out there for you.
Yeah, and don't think that if you don't know anything about computers, you can still do it. There are services out there that'll take care of you. You'll have to pay for it, but don't let your lack of computer knowledge prevent you from doing something on the internet that you think is a good thing to do.
Yep. The one problem you're going to run into is there are just some things you can't do without knowledge. There's nothing you can't do without money. There's some things you can't do without knowledge. Well, no, I guess if you had enough money, you could always get a dedicated server and then pay an IT guy with knowledge to do it.
And then pay someone else to make the content.
But it becomes prohibitively expensive to do certain things without money. Like if you want to develop your own web applications that do something brand new, you're going to need smarts. But if you just want to make a blog or a podcast, you don't need so many smarts to do that. There are plenty of websites that'll help you out. Libsyn, in fact, can do the whole thing for you.
Yeah, we don't use them for a number of reasons for all that. But
yeah. So that's all there is to it.
Yep, I'm sorry it might have sounded a little fractured. It's Monday, what do you expect?
Yeah.
We got some good stuff coming up in the next couple of weeks.
Oh, we sure do. I think for the next month we should have good stuff.
Yeah, we've got some interviews coming up. We've got some interesting tidbits. Try not to reveal much.
We got some games. We got some funniness. It's all good.
Yeah, life's been good lately. What can we say?
So go get more people to listen.
Yeah, hopefully my headache will be gone tomorrow, which is gaming day, where we'll talk about a game.
What game are we going to talk about?
I don't know. Maybe you should listen and find out.
Being all secret? Whee!
And that was Geeknights with Rim and Scott. Special thanks to DJ Pretzel for our opening theme.
Be sure to visit our website at www.frontrowcrew.com. If you like our podcasts, you'll love our forums. Make sure you visit them. You can send your email feedback to geeknights@gmail.com. And if you want, you can leave us a voicemail at 206-333-1537.
Geeknights airs every weeknight, Monday through Thursday.
Geeknights is recorded with absolutely no studio and no audience. But unlike those other talk shows, it's actually recorded at night.